Over the last fortnight, the hip-hop community has been mourning the loss of one of its greatest artists. The passing of Nipsey Hussle shook artists and fans alike, and it would only be right that we, as so many others have done recently, highlight just how consequential he was to the genre. Hi, I'm Jasmine for Pulse, and this is our look back at the career of Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey was born on August 15, 1985, and was raised in the Crenshaw neighborhood of South LA. Nipsey's strong ties to his community have been a long-running hallmark of his career, and Nipsey famously sold mixtapes outside of the store that he would later own, and he appropriately called Marathon Clothing. Nipsey's career embodied his moniker of hustling. Beginning with his Slauson Boy Volume 1 mixtape, Nipsey released a string of mixtapes, including his Bullets Ain't Got No Name series, which helped to build his profile in the West Coast area, and by this time he was signed to Epic Records. Collaborations with another up-and-coming artist, Drake, as well as placement on Snoop Dogg's album Malice in Wonderland, led to the rapper's profile bubbling into the forefront of the hip-hop universe. His appearances on XXL's freshman list was just dues for his grind, and not long after, Nipsey decided to leave Epic Records and went independent. And though his initial debut project, South Central State of Mind, was postponed indefinitely, his music was still being well received. After establishing his own label, All Money and Records, he began his marathon series of mixtapes, which he also collaborated with the likes of YG and Rick Ross, and the latter of which sparked rumors that Nipsey might sign with Maybach Music Group, which never actually materialized. And by this point, Nipsey decided not to sign with any label to retain creative control of his projects. By 2013, he began releasing singles for his up-and-coming Crenshaw, a mixtape which would be a watershed moment for him. He announced that 1,000 hard copies would be available for sale, $100 each, but that the album would also be available for free. Jay-Z was so impressed by the marketing and the release that he bought 100 copies of the album. All copies would eventually sell out, and Nipsey made a number of guest appearances in 2015 and 2016, as his fans awaited the release of Victory Lap, which was slated to be his debut album. He collaborated with YG on the song FDT, where he voiced his opposition to the then candidate Donald Trump's vilification of Mexican immigrants. And finally, after years of waiting, Victory Lap was released in February 2018, debuting at number 4 on the Billboard 200 to critical acclaim, as well as various placements on the Hot 100. His album would also be nominated for a Grammy for Best Rap Album. This marked a really important landmark for Nipsey, an artist that exemplified the beauty of the process. From the meticulous releases of his many mixtapes to the careful curation of his music, as well as appropriately naming his projects, Nipsey's vision will sorely be missed. He knew and recognized that nothing can be achieved in the blink of an eye. From buying back his block and starting his own business, he relished in the project that was his career. He ran the proverbial musical marathon, with release of mixtape after mixtape. He respected the process of building a fan base and creating a name for himself. We never saw him flustered or once complaining about why he wasn't at the top of the tree yet. He just kept doing his thing, and he was rewarded by the universe for all of his hard work. Once his debut album was released, we all ran with him as he took his victory lap, finally achieving his end goal 12 years into his career. He bought the building from where he sold his mixtapes and created a business, but more impressive was how he gave back to his community in his roles as a community activist, entrepreneur, and vocalist. He spoke openly about gang culture and spoke out against gun violence and wanted to be an inspiration for the Black community. And prior to his passing, he was planning to meet up with the LAPD to discuss issues plaguing the South LA community and to find a way to bridge the gap. He even teamed up with entrepreneur and real estate developer Dave Gross to create the Too Big to Fail program, which is a STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. That would be a center for the youth in the city of Crenshaw to serve as a connection between underrepresented groups and the corporate partners in Silicon Valley and beyond. His mission was clear. He knew his path and the steps he needed to take to get to his goals. Nipsey was more than just a poet, and he realized that he could make a difference for his community and took up the challenge. All of his projects were mantras to live by, from his musical marathon to his victorious lap. The journey doesn't stop here, and though Nipsey's race was cut short, we should all take up the challenge and finish the marathon that he started. May he rest in peace.